Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Veerman. I'm here with my friend and trusted producer, as always, Max Kerman. We are here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Christian Cunningham. And always lately, we're here with intern Erica. Intern Erica, how's it going?
Yo, it's good.
She even brought candy for us.
She did.
Yeah.
Big
Which is what you
shout-outs.
need when you're recording at 6 o'clock after a long day.
It's a
Pick me up.
good way to endear yourself to the podcast is bringing candy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not if you're trying to get healthy, though.
No.
Max, Shane, how's it going? This is a free dumb. We don't have a guest today.
Yeah.
It's just us talking.
This is the energy in the room is a little different
Yeah.
because the Raptors. We're not drunk on the Raptors at the moment.
No.
Though it's not to say we can't get drunk on them again.
A little disappointed, but it happens. Max, you and I were at the finals game too yesterday. It was a phenomenal atmosphere. Number 44, President Barack Obama was in the building. There was a buzz. It was wild. It was crazy. It was super fun. And then the Raptors lost a tight game down the stretch.
And you guys were both throwing out T-shirts. Just Mikey after the game.
Yeah. Max was throwing T-shirts to people in Jurassic Park, and I left the building and threw my T-shirt out.
Yeah, you were very angry
You
with
did?
that shirt. Let's get into that for a second.
Sure, if you want. No, I didn't.
Oh.
Well, we know if you follow us on Instagram that I managed to snag a couple extra T-shirts that were given away at Game 1.
Which was the best gift ever,
Great
by
shirts.
the way. Thank you so
and everybody
much.
was very excited. And you guys were like, if you
Yeah,
go...
thank you.
Yeah. Erica did not get one. And then when the Game 2... and by the way, like they're long sleeve shirts, which are very hip. They have every kind of Raptors logo from over the years on it.
They're slimming. They're black.
They're just so legit.
They're
OVO.
cool, man.
Yeah, they're very
It says
cool.
OVO on it.
And I did wear them around after Game 1. And you were saying that everybody was
It
complimenting
was like
you.
being a celebrity.
Yeah.
People were stopping. They're like, "You were at the game last night? Like, you rich?" People were honking because I walked home from work.
Only
that way.
20,000 people get
Yeah.
one of these shirts.
So people were honking at me as I'm walking up the mountain. I was wearing my purple zip up over it, so it was really getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But I felt like how you must feel every day.
Yeah, it was cool. Actually, the funny thing about those, I was in a suite, the Universal Music Suite, and they had the shirts laid out on the chairs. Now everybody in the suite tries to be a cool guy and doesn't want to be a guy grabbing the shirt, the freebie, because we're supposed to be all like rich people in there. And so, but I noticed too. So I got mine and I immediately put it not on because I was wearing my fun guy shirt. I put it in my jacket, which was hanging up in a closet in the suite. And then as the game's going on, I noticed that no one's taking them off the chairs.
So you put it in your jacket, like you shoved it down
I
one of
shoved
the
it
sleeves.
Exactly.
Smart.
And then in like the third quarter rolls around, I grab another one, kind of hoping no one watches me.
There's
Goes
two
back to
sleeves
the
on a
closet,
jacket, baby.
Put it in, and then by the fourth quarter, I put one on top of me because it was basically
That's like Max's shirt.
This
now.
is my shirt, and then I was gonna try to get a fourth. And then Jazz Cartier, who's a rapper, he was in the booth too. He asked the suite, the person who runs the suite, he's like, "Oh, is there any more of those shirts around?" And she like went out in the hallway like looking around for an extra shirt. And he's like, and I could tell he wanted one. So then I kind of like dig into my jacket and I get the fourth one. I'm like, "You can have this one."
Oh, you did have a fourth.
I did have a fourth, but Jazz Cartier got it.
Who were you going to give that fourth to?
That's amazing.
I was gonna give it to maybe Greg.
Yeah.
You're still lower than Greg on penny. Yeah.
Fair.
That's
I
really
won't
good
dispute
honesty
that.
right there.
Yeah. So that was fun.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Those shirts were great.
But anyway, so sorry, I digressed.
So the day of the game yesterday, like I said, it's Sunday. We all had Max and DZ, and then my brother and myself. We had tickets to the game, and I was like, those shirts were so fire. For Game 1, I'm so excited to know what they're going to do for Game 2. This is the
How
NBA
could they top
Finals.
it, right?
This is going to be amazing. Like, I don't know, around 2 o'clock, Blake Murphy, former pod guest, tweets out the shirts. They're all laid on the seats. And it's the exact same red We the North shirt that has been up for the whole playoff run. Just
Like
a T-shirt.
as if they need to get rid of them or something.
Exactly. Like they'd ordered too many and they're like, we're going back to the red ones because they work or whatever. I looked at that and I was like, you have to be kidding me. And now I said this. I realize it's an elite problem to be bitching about the shirts they give out at a finals game that are way too expensive for people to go to. And full disclosure, my tickets that I have, I said on this pod before, I'm like a 1/4 season ticket holder. So my prices for tickets are not nearly as crazy as that resale market where you're hearing that people are spending $1,000 for standing room only. My tickets were not like that. I also wasn't getting free tickets like our friend Max over here.
Are you allowed to say how much your tickets were?
Sure. As a season ticket holder, like my seats, which are in the 300s, like so the second level, mid-court were $4.15 a ticket. So it was $8.30 for the pair.
That's expensive stuff.
But it's a finals game and it's
Of
very
course,
unique.
yeah.
But yes, like that's a lot of money to spend on a ticket.
And that was face value.
that was like season ticket holder value. Now,
Yeah.
if I wanted to, where my seats were, I could have gone online and got $2,000 a ticket. So I could have probably made $4,000.
Holy cow. Sorry, Winnie.
Exactly. Well, it's funny, even like, because
That's
I've been a
crazy.
season ticket holder, 1/4, for the last 2 years, and Danica and my father-in-law, they're always asking, like, well, what would you do if you had a finals game? Like, would you sell the ticket? They're like, what could you maybe make? And
That's insulting.
I
to you.
guess. Well, I was like, well, if I had like a game 7, maybe I could make like $5,000. I don't know. And they're like, so what would you do? I'm like, nothing. I'm like, I'm going to the game. And it's because like I honestly like, I know $5,000 is a lot of money, but like in 10 years from now, I'll never think about $5,000, but I will think about that experience of going to the NBA game. I think it's more valuable than what I could have made.
Yeah, you've always said you value experiences over everything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like money, it's
And especially, I always say this, as you get older, like that's just like a stupid basement leak or something. Like if the money just flies out of your pocket once you're past 30 anyway. So experiences matter.
Totally. And like I don't like trust me, I value money. I'm very like grateful that we've been lucky enough to sort of have cool jobs and stuff. Like I don't come from any money, so like I do value it. I know it's a privileged position to be like I don't want the 5,000. I want to go to the finals game. But that's my outlook. That's what I've realized over the years when I've maybe not purchased things because I'm like, oh, that thing costs that, and it's like, well, you should have gone because you'd never forget it. So anyway, I put in the group. This is the shirts that they're giving out. I'm like, this is
How many
trash.
beers deep were you?
None. This
No,
was
this was just
midday.
Midday.
Okay.
When
anger.
I got a text from my so I see the Blake Murphy tweet and I put it in the Champagne Boys group and I go, they're giving out the red shirts for game 2 after they gave out those amazing black long sleeves for game 1. And I said, this is trash. And then I said, Birchall, the nut, I said, you need to talk to somebody and sort this out. The nut. I was joking. Listen, I was annoyed because I was like, I can't believe they're kind of doing the red T-shirts. Like, I got one of these when we went to, game 1 of Philly, like 2 rounds ago. I was like half joking, although genuinely a little bit disappointed in the shirt. The nut kind of goes at me hard.
And the pod.
And the pod. the nut goes, he says, I'm not reading it, but off of memory, he says something like, people are busting their asses here right now, like a back off type thing. So first of all, I'm like, okay. And then he's like, not every pod interview is the greatest interview.
He's like the Beaches wasn't the same as Noel. It doesn't mean the Beaches was trash.
That's what no.
Oh.
This was my counter. He didn't say anything about the beaches.
I thought he mentioned the Beaches.
No,
Fuck.
no. Basically, what happened is he mentioned that basically it's like not all pod interviews are going to be great, and you're just going to have to like live with the fact that the T-shirts are this, whatever his counter was. But I was just like, man, he came back like he went full force.
Well, I feel like he's in this position where, well, first of all, working for MLSC, like now is the time he's probably most proud of, right? So if anybody goes at him, he's going to feel very protective over it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happens sometimes where it's like, what would be the thing that you'd get protective over? It wouldn't be Bell, would it?
Well, listen, I love Bell Media.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on
my
what
employer and
what
overlord.
the criticism is. I guess it depends.
Of course, like what do you listen? I love that the nut actually believes so much in his job and his company to the point that he would like in our friend group defend it vigorously and the people he works with. And I know everybody at MLSC is working very hard, but my point was essentially, I see you have it up, Shane. Do you
Well,
want to
here was
read my
your-
response?
Here was your point. So Birchall said, no, that's what I said. Okay, so Birchall said, not every mom interview is the best interview ever. Doesn't mean it's trash. And then I made a funny comment. We'll skip that. And then you said, ha, 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 laughing at my comment. Then you said, it's the finals, and fans have paid a fortune. Season seat holders who have been going to all the games during this run have a bunch of these basic tees. Not all NBA games or pod interviews are created equally. The Beaches don't get the same treatment as Noel Gallagher. I realize the shirts they give out at final games is an elite issue to take up, but the shirts are a big part of social media too. It's a bummer for those attending and a missed buzz opportunity.
That is true. I think
For social media. And honestly, like, who's the first one to Instagram out, like a photo of that shirt? Birchall.
Yeah.
He realizes that it's something fans are excited about and that it does matter to the fans. Now, you can seem like, again, this is such a ridiculous, petty thing, but I was shocked that he came at me that hard. Another thing I want to add, I think the Beaches are fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I love those ladies.
Yeah.
They're an amazing band.
I retweet.
But I'm just saying, you fly out to New York City to interview Noel Gallagher, who's an absolute legend, and then the Beaches, you do your sort of regular sort of prep, which you respect the process. But I'm saying it's like, it's the NBA Finals. This isn't just Drake night or like an ESPN game on national TV in November. It's the Finals. I would think Game 2, at least we get the same treatment as Game 1. This is such a stupid issue to
Anyway,
take up.
yeah.
Well, people are going to want to know Birchall's retort to
Okay,
that.
sorry. Go.
And then Burchell said,
Oh wait! I was bracing for him to come back at me.
"Oh,
and
I knew this was coming because Burchell follows the 44 laws of power bullshit." So Burchell said, "Cool."
Oh,
Which the brevity move is the ultimate bullshit move you can pull because they're like, oh, you spent all that time crafting an intelligent message. I'm going to totally disrespect you with this throwaway line.
yeah, a one-word answer.
Also, it did not take me a long time. I was getting ice cream with my wife and daughter, and Dana goes, "What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "I'm just responding this shit. I have to respond, but I just have to make sure I don't have any spelling errors. I don't want to get killed on some bullshit."
Well, I mean,
So
you put
it's-
in more effort than he did.
Exactly. I was ignoring my kid and wife. We were down by the water having like a Caesar. So I did have a drink. I had
Yeah.
one drink, and we were chilling. And then he said cool, which is funny because that's what I was going to do if he came back with something like sort of a deep cut, something really hurtful. Because you never know.
You never know.
But anyway, I understand the nuts point, and I know everybody's busting their ass. And the game ops was amazing. Let's talk about Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah, well, before that, so part of the deal with Mike D and I getting tickets is that they said you're going to have to show up in Jurassic Park and do something to whoop up the crowd because there's been, Cardinal Official and like the various Raptors personalities do this thing where they have seemed to hype up the crowd for about 6 hours straight, and they're showing video montages, I think, on the screens and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, whatever gets me in the building, like we'll happily do it. And we know the people who run the game ops, and they're awesome people, and we knew we were in good hands. But I started to think about it for a second. I was like, I usually think about like when it comes to me being recognized or being familiar with people, it kind of comes down. It's like, oh, do you listen to the Edge 102? Are you a fan of the Tragically Hip? And when you think about the demo of the people down in there, it's a very mixed group, but it's a little younger and definitely more like just diverse. And the kind of sort of the music and the theme of all the Raptor stuff is very hip hop centric, like,
Yeah.
and which totally makes sense. If it was a Leafs thing, it would be a different story. So all the music that you ever hear at a Raptors game is hip hop, which I personally prefer. I think that's the right call. So I was saying to Mike, I was like, I wonder what's going to happen when they call our name. It's like, anybody can know who the fuck we are? And so in preparation, I texted you guys. And if you follow us on Instagram, I put the text screenshot in our story. And I said, all right, guys, I need some help on what I'm going to say to the crowd because I have to be entertaining to a degree. And, and I don't know exactly how they're going to respond because it's not like even Shawn Mendes would probably be way more familiar to that crowd, that
Sure.
general crowd.
Isn't that an of course?
Of course, no, but sorry, but I use him as an example.
I think
because,
he's on a Grammy. And
No, no.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I only use that as an example because he's not a hip hop guy. That
Okay.
was
Okay.
my
Yeah,
point.
yeah, fair.
Obviously, I'm not comparing myself. And so I put in the group, I'm like, what are you going to say? I was like, because Mike and I were going to wear fun guy shirts, which I thought would be a real crowd pleaser. I was going to make a spicy, like, are we getting spicy out there? Like, I don't know.
It's a good line.
It's all right. You suggested to say fuck Brooklyn.
I did,
Which
yeah.
is a good
It's a
throwback.
callback,
Good
yeah.
callback to what Masai said.
Risque, but good.
You said after tonight, they're not going to be the Golden State Warriors. They're going to be the Golden State Worriers.
I didn't say that.
What did you say?
I said after tonight they're going to be the Golden State Warriors. The crowd already knows. Like I wouldn't go. They're not going to be the Golden State Warriors.
He nailed it, but,
Yeah.
but Shane's was tighter
Yeah,
copy.
yours is a tighter copy, which, you're a professional writer. So anyway.
You didn't say that, did you?
We'll wait for it.
Okay.
So then the hype dude is up there, and he's like, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, like, give it up for Max and Mike from the Arkells." And we walk out, everyone's just staring. And so I was like, "Oh fuck!" But the thing is, you can't have that look of terror in your eyes, or else they're really
Don't let
beyond-
them smell the fear.
Yeah, don't let them smell the fear. But believe me, we're just like. And by the way, this is there's so much swagger like around Raptors Jurassic Park with the hip hop tunes blaring,
Yeah.
and in the arena with the hip hop tunes blaring, and then we come up to Leather Jacket, and it's just the corniest it's the corniest shit ever.
It's
And
just a hard shift.
yeah, it's just a hard shift, and like it just in that moment you're like, hip hop is just so much cooler than rock on every level.
Would Drake's dad have been cooler or less cool?
Maybe, but that wouldn't have been quite as recognizable. They were probably trying to go for one of the more recognizable songs. Anyway,
Should have done knocking.
They should have done Miss Jackson, man, because you guys do a great cover. of
Yeah,
that.
they should have just kept the hip hop beats going. To be
true.
honest. So then I go out there. I'm like, what do I say first? Oh, I use your copy, Mike.
Oh.
I say, your copy was amazing. I go, hey, who's been here since 3 a.m? Make some noise if you've been here since 3 a.m. And some people cheer because people have been lining up
Line
since
up and
last
get in
night.
Jurassic Park.
I was like, who's been waiting for this moment since 1995? Getting the crowd into it. They're starting to cheer. And I go, all right, now make some noise if you wanna see a banner, because that lasts forever, or whatever the line was, which I thought was
Banners hang forever.
Because banners hang forever. I nailed the line, and they start to get into it. I'm like, all right, I have one more question for you. Mike and I had our Fun Guy shirts on underneath our jackets, so I have one more question. Who here? And then I start to undo my jacket, is a fun guy. And then people like started to cheer for that. So I was like, all right, I'm starting to win them back a little bit. Mike, we both have our shirts open. By the way, I told the people the bit backstage that we were going to do that. And they're like, this is an Adidas facility. You can't wear that New Balance shit around here. That was like, buddy. I was like, I don't think this crowd's going to be with us. We have to do everything we got. So that worked well. I was like, last thing. After tonight, it's not going to be the Golden State Warriors.
No.
It's the Golden State Warriors. And then everybody just goes, oh.
I cannot believe you said it.
I think Ash has footage.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I totally, I was like, I said, I'm gonna do this just so I can tell you on the
That's amazing. See, I was gonna say, because you have to kind of say it like you're in on how bad it is.
Well, I kind of did.
Yeah,
okay. I had a grin. I wasn't like obviously.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah.
Because I was getting messages from people because someone put it up on our social media.
Oh, yeah,
and they were like,
Veronica.
just to let you know, that's a great line. Like people were messaging me
Well, people saw it.
on our social media.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well, they might have seen the screen grab.
The
too.
Warriors grab, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah, I noticed you didn't screen grab my copy.
there's only one room in the frame. For
That
so
is
much.
true.
But
Yeah.
Mike's was much better.
Mike's was
in a
awesome.
practical sense. Mine was just so dumb it was funny.
And for our listeners, we've talked about this. Mike is my stage banter coach, or my liaison, or
You're amazing enough. I just help punch things up.
No,
here
you're
and there.
good. And this, so for our Kel stuff, Mike's been very helpful over the years. So anyway, I try to do a drop the mic move and just like get the fuck off the stage. But then, so we walk off. They're like, no, go back. You're not done yet. And so I'm like, oh God. And so I'm going back. We have to take some photos, and it's just like very awkward. Anyway, so that happens. Get off the stage. But who do I see right after? Kevin from The Bachelor.
Yes.
Did you see my Instagram?
I saw
I
it.
posted it on our.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And Astrid too.
Yeah, and
She-
Astrid,
she's from it.
Yeah.
too.
But I was way more excited to see Kevin, even though Astrid's also for our listeners. We're talking about The Bachelor. Mike does not care. Anyway, he did.
I didn't know who you posted. I thought it was a hockey player.
No. It's Kevin
I'm
from
not
The
kidding.
Bachelor.
No,
I
he
honestly
was from
thought
the
it-
Canadian Bachelor, and then he transferred over to the American one.
I was
Yeah.
like, why aren't you?
Bachelor
adding
in
who this
Paradise.
is?
Well, no. First, he was Bachelor Olympics.
Bachelor Olympics, right? I've
Yes.
never watched.
Anyway, he
unfortunately.
lives in Toronto. He lives in Liberty Village. Everyone sees him out and about. And I was so excited. I was like, can I get a photo? I follow you on Instagram. He like didn't know me from a hole in the wall.
Whoa.
And he's just like, okay, cool. He's very nice. So
Yeah,
that
he's
happened.
Like, well, after that Golden State Warriors line, I guess we can do a photo if you really want one.
Yeah. So then we get inside. It is a real who's who. Now. Like, honestly, the amount of just basketball players I saw. Sean Marion, Kendrick Perkins was there. Del Curry. Del Curry walks by us down in the lower level. And I take an Instagram of, I'm like, Daddy Dell's in the house. If you follow Arkell's on Instagram, you'll see that. I get a bunch of people messages. Oh, do you know who he was talking to there? I'm like, no clue. Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
Who's
was
that?
he's one of the most
Golfer.
famous golfers.
He's like one of the
Yeah.
top 5 golfers in the world. Well, I noticed. Did you notice throughout the game, there were so many celebrities at the game last night? It's like Win Butler was there, obviously Drake, Shawn Mendes, a bunch of golfers. They were doing celebrity rows in threes, and so when it was time for the pack, there was a 3-pack. It opened with Mendes. People lose their minds. Then it goes to Rory McIlroy or whatever.
McIlroy.
And it's just like it's a good applause. And then it goes to Drake, and it goes back up again. I was debating with my brother as we were watching that. I'm like, do you think they intentionally separated Mendes and Drake because Mendes might have got a louder applause than Drake?
Oh, probably.
So it's
I
like
wouldn't
you
be
have to
surprised.
go Mendes first because the kids are going to go nuts, the girls are going to scream. Then McIlroy, the dads are like golf, and then Drake was in the middle. But it was interesting to me that it was like you don't want to put Shawn Mendes before Drake, and Drake's so famous you can't put Shawn Mendes last. I just wonder if there was some thought put into that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the amount of sort of hand-holding they have to do around Drake stuff, I imagine they thought about it.
Another 3-pack had Win Butler in it, who was wearing a purple Raptors jersey. But that one ended with Toronto Blue Jay Robbie Alomar,
Who
former
got a big
Toronto Blue
one.
Jay. That was insane.
Yeah, there was a minute where I was like, "Am I going to get on this?" And Mike and Deep, no, I don't think we're in the
Me
top
and Greg
tier.
were asking. We're like, you think Mac's gonna get up there? Yeah. And, you didn't make one of the 3
No,
packs.
which I don't blame him for. But anyway, we're happy to be in the building. So, anyway, so this Obama thing, word gets out.
There's a buzz.
There's a buzz because someone broke it on Twitter that Obama's in the house, and we're like, "This is so cool." We're in the board of directors lounge, which is where most of the bigwigs hang out, and we start asking the staff, like, "Is Obama gonna come in here?" And then they're like, we heard he might come in at halftime. I was like, that's so cool. So Mike and I are like, we have to be back here in time to get into the room for halftime. We end up talking to Kyle Dubas and his wife Shannon because they're in that room. And he says that Dubas says they've been kicked out of the Maple Leafs dressing room because that's the Obama compound. So a couple doors over is where the Maple Leafs dress. And so we walk by there. And I was like, oh, God, is he there? And then I just realized that, like, there's literally 15 dudes in suits not talking to each other and just kind of looking around. Like, but they didn't look like the black Secret Service, like black
That you'd
suits
imagine.
that you'd imagine. They looked a little more, like, kind of casual, as if they were, like, just bigwigs that were at the game. And then I go, oh, this is all of Obama's people. I kind of just, like, stop and just linger around, just sort of just, like, biding my time. And the guy comes over to me, he's like, hey, buddy, you know you can't be here. He's like, he gives me a little rub on the shoulder. No, you gotta go. I was like, I
You
know.
told it cooler online. You were like,
Oh, what did I say?
You were like, you got to keep it moving,
You
brother.
got to keep it moving, brother.
Yeah.
And then we passed by again. Mike D decided to tie up his shoelace, like
oh
in
my
the
God.
middle
you guys
of
are
them.
like Shane and Alex and Dave Grohl.
But I will say the amount of time I got so many text messages and tweets for people like, you have to meet Obama, and I do appreciate that I am known as the Obama guy.
Big time.
I was freaking out.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about you the whole time. I was
Yeah.
like, what a game for Max to be at and have access to a spot where Obama might potentially
Yeah.
Well, what would you have said?
I love you, Barack. No, I don't know. I would have said,
be. Now you really got to keep it
I
moving.
read both of your books. I think you're the best. I don't know what
Would you
I
have been
say?
starstruck? Do you
Oh
get
my God,
starstruck?
he's the number one person I want to meet in the world.
Yeah.
By far.
You know what
Yeah.
I would ask?
What would you say?
Is Kawhi staying?
Oh yeah, that's probably the move. Oh, and then I saw
Talk hoops with them.
Yeah, talk hoops. Yeah, he doesn't want to be adored over. You know, it's like
Yeah.
But then I saw Wilbon. Wilbon
Yeah.
was down there, and I know Wilbon's former assistant. So I go, "Hey, Wilbon," and he's like clearly in the middle of texting. It's like right before half, and I'm like, "Wilbon, I know Kalila, and I've been to a taping of PTI." He's like, "Oh," and his eyes kind of light up a little bit because they had a good relationship. And I was like, "Can I get a photo?" He's like, "Not right now, bro." I feel like I get rejected for photos all the time.
But you try.
I try. And then Will Arnett was backstage. I was thinking
He didn't make the fame
Love
cam.
him.
No, yeah, but he was hanging around. I was contemplating asking for a photo with him, but I didn't. And then I ended up talking to Win Butler from Arcade Fire, and we've talked a few times, and we have some mutual friends. And
Does he know your name?
I don't think he'd remember my name, but he'd remember my face for sure. And because Arkells do stuff with Plus One, that's the Arcade Fire charity. So, but I know he's a big basketball fan, and so and he's obviously played in the Celebrity All Star game, and he lives in New Orleans now. And he was talking about how he has season tickets for the Pelicans, and he loves going to the games. And I was like, "Oh, are you playing right now?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I play." Like I'm like, "Oh, what's your league like?" He's like, legit, like I'm the only white dude there, like, and they all think I'm fucking crazy. They call me Birdman. He's like, I don't have any tattoos, but I'm like the crazy tall white guy. I'm like, do they have any sense of like who you are? He's like, they have like no idea who I am. They just think they just call me Birdman.
That's funny.
I was like, that's
That's amazing.
fucking amazing.
What jersey was he wearing? I couldn't tell which Raptor it was. Was it McGrady? It was a purple one.
Oh
old
no, it was
school.
Elijah Wan.
Oh,
I talked to him about
that
that
one
because he's a
season of
Houston
Elijah.
guy. He grew up in Houston,
Yeah.
and he was a Houston Rockets fan, and so he was wearing the Elijah Wan jersey.
Weird.
I love that he came for the. I heard that the weekend was also there.
I heard the weekend was there.
Yeah, he didn't
But
get on the celeb.
He
cam.
didn't, but I think that's part of the strategy. Anyway, the Drake strategy, because I think they have a bit of a beef.
Oh,
I think that is a contentious thing around that building. Is like, how do we want to honor the weekend because we love the weekend, but also he and Drake are weird.
yeah, and
That's what
Drake's
I've
the
heard.
global ambassador.
Yeah. But honestly, when they put Obama up on the, tell me how it was for you. But I leapt to my feet. I was clapping louder than literally any other moment in the game, and it feels like everyone else in the arena did that too.
So this was, that's a great way to put it. So we haven't talked about this. Yeah. So my perspective is, I know he's in the building. We don't know where he's sitting, but I'm scanning courtside because I assume he's going to be courtside. I'm kind of like looking all around. They've been doing the 3-packs with celebrities. They get, different levels of applause and smattering of applause. Like I said, Shawn Mendes will get a ton, and Alessia Carr's like, it's a nice applause, but then people go crazy for other things. I'm like, I wonder if they're going to show Obama or if the plan is to like, no, don't put me up. It's about the Raptors. So everyone's kind of like chilling. It's after like a Toronto sort of run in the second quarter, and they flash his face on the jumbotron. And before Herbie Kuhn, the guy that does the announcing in arena, can even say anything without missing a beat, the arena literally, I've never seen the arena jump to their feet as quick as they could. They did it in like a split second and started screaming as loud as they did for
Okay, it
any
wasn't
point
just
in the
me,
game. No, it
'cause I was
wasn't.
screaming.
And I had a great view of the whole arena. Everybody shot up the minute they showed his
It was
face on the
like,
screen.
snap your fingers. Everyone like leaps up.
And then Herbie Coon's like, ladies and gentlemen, 44th President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. And everybody's just losing their fucking minds, cheering. A spontaneous MVP chant breaks out. Like, it was crazy, but
And
it was a cool moment.
He handled the Jumbotron look as cool as it comes too. He was like, oh, he didn't stop his conversation. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
He kept talking, and then he goes, oh, he's like, gives a little aw shucks thing.
Oh, he played it perfectly.
He played perfectly. He's like, all right.
I
And then
guess
he
I'll
goes
stand up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was fucking.
Did you see the
amazing.
players clapping too?
No, I didn't see that.
Like, so it was a timeout huddle, so both teams were like in their respective things, but like basically the ones that weren't directly involved in the huddles, like Danny Green and those guys, were all like clapping for him as well.
you don't
at the
know what you
standing
got
up.
till it's gone, man. That's BO's the best example of that.
There you go.
Most valuable present.
That's what the MVP chant was.
Yeah.
for.
Oh, that's what it meant for
No,
sure.
I'm kidding. That was. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, aside from how the game turned out, it was something to be at a finals game, and I'm glad I experienced it because I don't believe I'll be going to any more.
Yeah.
You gonna get your way into 5 and 7, baby?
I did get an invitation for
To
5.
what? How many?
Whoa!
How many people are allowed to come with you? I haven't been to any finals game.
Our boy Kyle asked
Who?
if I wanted
Do
to go
this?
date.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
That's amazing.
He has seats. He's the Toronto Leafs dude.
Who you bringing? Your dad? You should
No,
bring your
no.
dad.
I'm Kyle's date.
That doesn't make any sense. Though he
That's
has
amazing.
seats.
Yeah, Kyle has seats,
So
and
Max will be the guy
and
in
I'll
the
be his
second
date.
seat.
Yeah.
He's bringing you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I turned into Keanu Reeves.
oh, right. That makes sense then.
Oh man. Well, if Kyle drops out, Shane should get in there. You know? Yeah.
Oh, but I will say, I told them, he and his wife Shannon, for our listeners, Kyle Dubas' wife Shannon is childhood friends with Shane, so there's that connection there. I told him about the Jurassic Park thing, and I said I needed a copy from Mike and Shane, and I told her the Warriors line. She loved it.
She loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he loved it too.
Yeah, he wants to know what Kyle thought. Did you love enough to give someone a ticket? So that's amazing because there's going to be a game 5.
Yeah.
You could be seeing them hoist the Larry O'Brien Trophy if they go and win 2 in Oakland.
That'd be crazy.
Which is your prediction, Mike?
It is. Well, I thought they'd win the first 2 at home and steal 1 in Oakland. Now they got to win 2 in Oakland,
Still
which
could
is
happen.
insane. Yeah. But enough about NBA hoops.
How long are we at there?
27.
Good.
Ooh,
Let's keep
we're
moving.
just rolling along, giving people what they want. Are we doing more pods this week, or is this it for this
No,
week?
let's do it. I'm around.
All right. Let's move on to topics. Maxi Boy, what are our topics, and what do you want to start with?
The 2 topics I had in mind was this story of a nurse who's not actually a nurse, but she's been posing as one in Quebec for 20 years. And
20
she was-
years.
And she was just discovered. Do you want to set this up?
Yeah, there was a nurse in Quebec who has been working as a professional nurse for 20 years, and I guess at any point where they've needed sort of credentials for her to prove who she was or whatever, some falsified documents would be provided. The story stated that there was some sort of loophole in the system that they have now shorn up, and the only reason that they caught her was because she was going for some sort of additional training, like Max said, after 20 years, and the names didn't add up, and then it led to something.
Well, the name
the
didn't
age.
match her age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it
Yeah.
was on her document.
I
and
like
then
the
guess
idea of her
the
getting
other
extra qualification. You know, like people do that in their job.
I know.
You think she would have just been like, "All right, I'm just going to ride this for as long as I can."
No,
She's like,
it,
"No,
was,
I'm going
it was a mandatory update.
Oh,
that
I
she had to do.
see, I see.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, so obviously she's been bounced, and you're not allowed to practice any sort of medicine without a license in this country.
Well, I
or
just want to
whenever-
read a funny part, though.
Please do.
In the article, I found this very funny. So a union representative said the news came as a big surprise. He said, a few weeks or a few months, that has happened before. But such a long time, I thought that would be impossible. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't they change the plan when someone did it for a few weeks or a few months?
Yeah.
Now they've changed it so this can't happen again. But the fact that you can get away with this for a few months is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, so
I guess
Lauren-
the idea is that you would be exposed for your sort of incompetence or lack of knowledge after a month they catch you.
Oh, well,
but to your
this-
point, like whatever the documentation thing is, I'm going to guess that this person was good at their job.
Well, this is it. So Lauren, my gal Lauren, is in nursing school right now, and the amount of shit she needs to know is incredible. Like, I could not do that job for more than 3 minutes. You know, like she has had to take all these prerequisites when it comes to math and science and all the stuff they learn in class about just like procedures of what to do in the hospital and protocol. it's like it's not a job that you could just sort of
Pick
wing.
up as you go?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you couldn't really wing it. I mean, I think there is something to be said for like real world experience. And I think a lot of jobs are like that. It's like, oh, you can go to school for all you want, but there's nothing like the real thing. But
What did I put in the text group? Fake nurse, real results. School is for suckers or something like that.
yeah, well,
Maybe not mirror. I don't know what I said.
no,
but
something like that.
I kind of like the idea that have you ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can?
Of course.
This reminds me a lot of that. And I just think that like if she got in at a time where she could shadow someone very good and she's an intelligent person, this nurse, she picked up obviously enough and she practiced for 20 years and did a good enough job that her colleagues weren't like, she's shitting at her job or there's something wrong off her or she's faking it or something. Like, I admit, like, I'm not trying to diminish how much schooling Lauren's done or any other super qualified nurse who do such a difficult job, but I'm just very kind of like, I think there's something to be said for succeeding.
Well, maybe her first year on the job, or first 2 years, or first 3 years was like a college for her, and she was like, "Listen, could you show me how to do this?"
And by the way, any nurse, Lauren's talked about this a lot. Nurses who go through all the schooling will say your first year or two, like on the job, you feel like an idiot. You have to ask a million questions, and that's part of the culture. So any new nurse is in the hospital going, "Hey, can you come over here and show me how to do it?" And those are people who've been through the school. So that's a good point. Is that that's exactly what she was
seeming
doing.
dumb wouldn't be out of the ordinary.
No, not at all. But I know for me, I'm so bad at all that detailed work that you'd need to be as like procedure with like removing bandages or sewing people up or whatever nurses do. I could not do that. But I was thinking, what would be jobs that you think you guys could fake for a while?
I could probably figure out being a pilot.
Come on.
No. The
All
job I have now.
Come on, hold on. Expand on that.
Oh, I don't know. If I sat in for a bit, and
You're doing your joke thing.
I could hit some doohickeys
He's
and
joking.
get it.
He does that face when he's kidding. But I think my job is a good fake job where you kind of fake it for a bit.
In your job, explain what you do.
Write and direct and edit commercials.
Yeah.
Like it's good. Like you just show up, and then kind of the cinematographer really helps you out. Like, and it's weird because the bigger the budget, the easier the job is. So you get coddled way more. So I remember when I was in Africa, I went with my boss, and Randall was actually getting drunk with Greg, and I was just like eavesdropping on them, and Randall was like, "Shane's not ready for a big shoot yet. He can't handle them." I'm like, "Oh no, these big shoots are going to be impossible. I hope I'm never ready. I don't want to do one." Then, because I was doing all the little shoots, the ones with a little budget, and I was like, "Fuck, these are really hard. I could never handle a big budget shoot." Then I got the big budget shoot, and that's way easier. They do storyboards for you. You have like a little assistant who, like, if you're like, "How about we put the camera there?" He's like, "Don't do that." Then you'll be like, "Oh yeah, don't do that." So you really get your ass saved at every turn. So I realized, and I'm talking about the Mary Berg shoot in particular, which we just did recently. Like, it's pretty easy the higher up you go.
Well, this is my
It's
point.
also easier for you because you've done it for the last 10 years now.
True.
And all the shitty ones that you have a confidence.
But there was no faking the small shoots.
Not at all.
I could have faked. Like, I could have done.
if you jumped right into your level, you could have faked your
yeah,
way through it.
if I told Randall, "Listen, I've been directing for 10 years. I'm a pro, and I just started and was shitting my pants," I could have faked it.
I think a lot of people do that in the industry. I
Yep.
think they lie and then just
Of course,
fake
that's
it
why
till
I'm
they
saying
make
this is
it.
such
Yeah.
a good industry to fake.
Well, I was talking to Lauren about this, and I was like, the one job I could do is president. I've been hanging out in the BOD, the Board of Directors Lounge at Maple Leaf Sports, with just a lot of other bigwigs, and I fit in great down there.
Yeah.
Just a lot of schmoozing, a lot of confidence, some charisma, and you keep it moving.
Yeah.
And that's what being the president's all about.
It's true. Just be careful. Well, you do have to make some tough decisions, though. You have to
I
send
can
people
do
to
that.
war. You have to build policy that's going to
But
not
also-
only make you polarizing. You're always going to have half the country that hates you.
But you can always
No, I'm not
defer
talking
to
about-
somebody who's really smart.
I'm not
right?
talking about president of America. I mean, I'm more talking about president of a company.
Oh, okay.
It was way
CEO.
funnier before.
Okay,
Yeah.
never
Yeah,
mind.
that's
Cut
what
that.
I thought you were claiming you could actually be the president.
No,
of the
I mean, I
United
could also
States.
be but also just like president of a company, and also even president of a company, can have other guys make hard decisions for them. You know?
Yeah, you just
or
kinda
hey, can you
delegate.
fire that guy over there? President's gonna have to fire.
That's what
people.
you do at this pod. You just delegate, really.
Oh, totally. Like today,
You're good at it.
Mike asked me to pick up the recording equipment from
Yeah.
Dan, and then I just texted Erica, and I said, "Erica, can you pick up the equipment from Dan?"
And when she came walking in with it, I was like, I see what Max did there, and I like it. But yeah, I mean, it's a wild story. I imagine she was competent at the very least at her job. Who knows if in those early days in the 60s that a couple people had to die in order for her to learn.
Yeah.
But it's a wild
Erica,
story.
do you have anything that you think you could fake your way through?
I don't know. Like, it'd be something that you could, like, talk your way through. It would not be nursing. Like, in nursing, you actually need skills to do it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, CEO of a company? No, I actually couldn't do that. There's no way. I don't know.
I wonder if you're like a really handy person, you could be like, I'm a contractor now, and not having gone to school for anything, or like,
Oh,
if
I'm
you're,
pretty handy,
It's like
actually,
oh,
right
I'm a
now.
chef,
Yeah.
and you'd be like, oh, well, I never went to chef school. Like, I feel like that's it. You could make up some fake credentials for like being a chef. Like, I went to school in Spain for being a chef, and like, but really, you never did that.
Yeah, it's like there's jobs that people like. It's like, oh, like you could figure out how to be a server, or you could be a car salesman, or something like personality-based stuff that you feel like you could do.
Yeah,
maybe a CEO of a
exactly.
company. But I'm like, so that's why I kind of like was thinking pilot or anything that's skill-based. Like, how do you fake your way through a skill-based job and not like, when you're talking about directing, Shane, that's a very subjective job. Like one person that thinks someone's a great director is another person thinks is a shitty director, and it's like
Right.
it's kind of like depends on your taste in a lot of ways. And there's certain metrics that would say, oh, this is why he's good at the job. He comes in under budget, he gets his stuff on time, all that stuff. That's sometimes more important than maybe the creative output. There's certain subjective things. There are other jobs that it's hard to be subjective. It's like you either like you put that needle into the arm properly or you didn't. Like that's a skill, right?
Yeah. What about? What did the Catch Me If You Can guy do?
He was a
Leo's
pilot.
character? Yeah, pilot. What else did he do? He did
Yeah,
a
it's been a
bunch
while since I watched that movie.
Do you remember?
He did pretty much everything.
Pretty accomplished list.
Know what I think I actually could be, and I've said this many times? Either a spy or a drug dealer.
Oh,
Because no one would suspect me for either of those things.
that's true. I'm watching Killing Eve.
You know what you
could
should
be
do
a
then?
good
You
killer.
should go undercover as a drug dealer for the police.
I could totally be a narc.
You'd be
Because I don't
spy
fuck
and
with
drug dealer.
drugs. It's not my thing.
But what about if they make you like it's like test it so I know the coke is good?
Oh, I would probably die. I'd probably like test it and then drop
then-
dead.
Yeah.
You immediately are like, guys, I'm totally a spy. I'm fucking spying on you guys. You're great. That's why I had to tell you guys this. I just want you to know that because you guys are cool and we're cool. But anyway, let me test some more of that.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to be a spy.
It'd be too stressful, man.
Too stressful.
I hate lying too. Like it'd be really hard to lie to people. Like you see movies like Donnie Brasco and shit like that, and it's
That's
like
true. Never mind. I take it back.
Yeah, you like develop a relationship with somebody, and then it's like, oh, I really like you, Al Pacino, this father figure that is a low-level mob guy, but now I got to flip on you, and they're gonna.
Spy is different though than when you're actually in the room pretending to be someone else. Like spy, I feel like more is from afar.
Oh,
and
surveillance
like,
Yeah.
is what you're talking about.
informant is when you're
Right.
On the ground.
like kind of one of the guys who's pretending they're in the mob.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Spy Game with Robert Redford and Brad Pitt. I feel like Brad Pitt was actually infiltrating.
Maybe there's layers of spies.
Could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could get down with surveillance.
Surveillance.
You ever seen that movie Stakeout? I'm just mentioning all these.
Stakeouts are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a hamburger and some fries. You
Let's
hang
do
with
a
your buddy.
podcast stakeout. It's just camaraderie.
Yeah.
We should do a podcast stakeout. I don't know what we would watch, but
I
it'd be
just
fun.
watched a movie with Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson, and they did a stakeout for a large portion, and he was just going on about how the food is the best part of a stakeout.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That always seemed like the best part. Is like, yeah, let's get some burgers, and you're just sitting there shooting the shit, waiting for someone to come out of the room. Well, could you ever be? I could be a private detective. Maybe that's something I could fake my way
Oh
through.
yeah.
Hey,
And I don't think you need many credentials for that. Like I think you can just be like, I'm a private eye now, and then people
Yeah.
will hire you
Same
to
with
see if
drug
they're
dealer,
getting
though.
cheated on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
What would
It's a tough job.
What
though.
would
It's
we
like, I
stake
don't
out?
want to present some poor, woman with photos of her husband going into
Nah,
some
that's not
ladies.
fun.
It's like, ugh.
What do we stake out?
Okay, so
What would be like something we could
Ooh,
stake
the
out?
Kawhi trade.
oh, like whether he resigns or not.
Well, you
Actually,
guys
there was
could do
just-
some undercover biz. You guys could kind of,
There
I
was
mean,
just
that's
all the
more like
important
looking for
people.
sources.
Well,
I
no,
think.
there was a report today that he bought a second property in Toronto.
Come on, really?
Michael Landsberg reported that 2 sources told him he just purchased another property in Toronto. So everybody's like doing the eyes, like he's resigning.
Fuck.
So what we could do is stake out that property if we could find out the property. But yeah,
Is there anybody like famous coming to town that we want to see? Like what's I guess the Warriors
Oh,
already. We know where they
speaking
stand.
of,
Yeah.
not to change the subject completely, but how possible is it to land the Jonas Brothers on the pod when they're here in August?
Big fan, are you?
I meant to ask.
Good question. Yeah.
we could
let's-
probably get Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Well,
The non-Joe Jonas and the non-Nick Jonas. We could probably get that guy.
Yeah, we played with what's Joe? We played with Joe because he's
No.
in DNC, right?
Yes.
By the ocean.
Yeah, we in Quebec City last summer, 2 summers ago.
What?
And it was funny. He must have been late. He must have been traveling private on his own. But basically, like the rest of the band was like waiting for him to get on stage. He was like coming from the airport. and he got to the venue. There was a packed crowd out there. We had already played, and he got on, and within about 30 seconds, he was on the stage. Like that's like how they.
He's incredible. They're all incredible.
He was fine. All right.
Are you a Kevin fan too?
Sure, I'll just say it. Like, sure.
All right,
I was always a joke kind of girl.
Let's get to
Right.
the next one.
I could tell.
Hit me with the next one, baby.
Last subject is actually we want to address a Twitter beef, not a beef.
Oh, I saw that
No.
this morning.
But
I
Shane,
was-
you can walk us through this because
It's not a beef.
that's
at
right, not
all.
a beef at all.
It's just there's a lot of how do we describe virtue signaling?
Well, let's set
let's
it up
open by
first.
saying we value all of our listeners, and I like when they send us stuff.
Oh, it's awesome. And
I'm
Lauren,
not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying like if they're, I'm just going to comment on something they wanted us to comment on. So
okay,
they
so
said-
basically, let's rewind for a second. We talked about the Quine and Dine promotion on this podcast,
Yep.
and how every restaurant that has a Quine and Dine sticker says if Quine comes in the restaurant, he'll eat for free.
all in an effort to re-sign him, have the city show him hospitality because we're excited about this Raptors run.
But it's mostly a joke thing. Not to say if
Yeah, it's
Kawhi
a
walks into
marketing
your
thing.
restaurant, you wouldn't do it. But it's basically like a greeting card that companies are putting in their window to say, we support Kawhi and hope he stays.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
all it
lighthearted
is.
thing to show that the entire city wants him to resign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Somebody
what it is.
else wrote a post, and do you want to describe how the post went?
Yeah, it was basically a post, basically with like,
Well, I can read it. Like,
Sure, go for it.
From it. So it was an article that Lauren sent us.
Lauren Simmons,
pod
who's-
listener.
Yeah.
pod listener, shout out.
And basically, the point of it is it says the Kawhi and Dine campaign has highlighted our obsession with materialism as every person's dream. It has also make it painfully obvious that we do not know Kawhi Leonard. So that was.
Did you write that out from the website in
Yeah.
handwriting?
Yes,
That's funny.
I did. So that was the whole point of the article saying. it
Well, the
was-
point was like we can do if we want to really show Kawhi support,
Yeah.
we can
yeah,
do something
well, that's
else.
what I'm going to get
Oh,
into.
sorry, go
and
ahead.
the reason it says it's painfully obvious we don't know who Kawhi Leonard is like because Kawhi, when he started his career, he got a fairly big contract and still chose to drive around in the car he had since college.
Some beater car.
So it's like Kawhi doesn't care about material possessions in this. If you really care about Kawhi, you'll identify with a youth sports program that serve at-risk youth or underserved communities and make donations in Kawhi's name, or you'll support children's charities that offer care to families because that's what Kawhi would do, and you'll support a community program of your choice.
Well, first of all, this promotion came out of a sort of famous story that Kawhi Leonard, even after he got his sort of first big contract where he's making $20 million a year, he would get coupons to Wingstop in San Antonio, and he would use the coupons. So that was the joke, is that he was so sort of like frugal, like that he drove his original car even though he got his big contract, and he would go to Wingstop, and even though he made $20 million a year, he'd use these stupid free coupons
Yeah.
for the wing place. So that's kind of where Raptors Republic came up with this thing. It's an interesting outlook, which seems to be kind of the reaction. There's always sort of like a counter to any sort of initiative.
Well, the beauty of virtue signaling is it can apply to anything.
Could you describe virtue signaling?
Well,
Give us a
I
definition.
think like kind of like moms invented it back
Okay.
in the day when you didn't finish your meal. It was like, well, this food could have gone to children in Africa, Shane. And it's like, well, Mom, I think you're just saying something that it would have never happened.
Right. So
But,
that
and you're
concept-
just upset that I didn't finish my meal. Or let's say you brought me those candies today.
Yeah.
It would be like, Erica, it would have been much better had you brought Shane kiwis because sugar can actually be harmful to Shane and cause diabetes.
Right.
Yeah.
Or gave the candies to someone on the street in need.
And the reason why
Yeah.
you say it out loud or you write a blog post is to show like these are the virtues that
You're
are
socially
that
conscious.
that I'm a
and
socially woke person.
That's the virtue
Right.
signal.
yeah, well, less to do with actually being proactive and more to do with just like waving the flag of I'm a good person.
Right.
That's the criticism.
That's what we're describing it.
And right now, Kawhi owns 3 homes. They're all worth over $13 million. The pool is the biggest pool I've ever seen, just to show you the picture. So Kawhi might have changed his views, and he might be a materialistic guy now. I don't know. And this $13 million house he has is in California, and that's a house he's not even in all the time.
Yeah.
So he's wasting a lot of energy to heat this pool. Well,
Yeah.
he's not even there, I presume.
Yeah. Okay. So then Lauren points this out, and by the way, just so I want to say, Lauren is one of those voices in your head, and I equate her similar to Nick, who is virtuous and not
Bass player in your band.
Yeah, Nick in our band, and not in a self-righteous way, but is that voice in your head that says, "Hey, just let's remember, let's keep our eyes on the prize
Yeah.
here. That we need to keep striving to be better."
Which is great. You
Which
meet
is great.
people like that around you.
Yeah.
Like I have a handful of friends that are like that too, and I love them.
Yeah,
because
who
they
tap
always
you on the
make me
shoulder
think
and go,
differently.
"Okay." But anyway,
Yeah.
for the sake of this segment, it's also fun to talk about it. Carry on.
Well, so anyways, Lauren commented, and I commented back, and basically was saying, well, actually, this isn't mutually exclusive. Just because you support Quine and Dine, which you do, Max, and she did tag you personally in this, like your bar Odds supports Quine.
Sure,
and Dine.
yeah.
I was like,
I support Good Times.
it doesn't mean we're taking away from anyone's ability to support a charity or do any other altruistic thing. And then I called her a bit of a Debbie Downer. And
That was funny though.
well, I used the GIF of
Sure.
Rachel Dratch in SNL saying she's a Debbie Downer, which I do feel like a lot of virtue signaling. A big part of it is raining on people's parade. Someone's having a good time, you'll point out the one thing they're not doing. I drove to work today. Why didn't you take the bus? I took the bus today. Why didn't you ride your bike? Like it's like it never.
That's a good
ends.
equivalency.
Yeah.
You know, in her defense, though, Max and us on the pod, we do ask for counters all the time. We're sort of all about
and
yeah.
all I'm saying is there's a line and there's a point, and obviously this is a very scary time, right? And kind of the virtue signalers know that they can kind of bully us because it's a very scary time to be like, actually no, Quine and Dine rules, and it's like, oh, Max Kerman doesn't like charities, and it's very easy for you to get in hot water.
Sure.
So there's a line in Funny People where the woman says, just because you yell doesn't mean you're not mean. And I think it's like virtue signalers feel like because it's about charity, it means they're not annoying assholes.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, reading that piece, I think that, like, there's two things going on. There's always going to be somebody that says, look at the opulence and the sort of, like, the way that we view our society and the construct that we have. Why is money so powerful? Why are we focusing so much energy on this, like, guy that plays for a sports team that doesn't help, like, communities? And they'll say, what if we think about it this way? And my thing with that is it's like, to your point, I thought you made a great point where it's like, I'm going to drive to work. Why don't you take the bus? I'm going to take the bus. Why don't you ride a bike? You can literally do that with anything.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's the beauty of virtue signaling. Anything you do, you can apply to it. Like you can always do something better.
But
Like
sometimes it's not virtue signaling. Sometimes it's actually like, how can we make a better society? That's
of
how you.
course,
That's how
but,
you do
but
it.
Mike, there's a time and a place to bring those points up. Bringing it out of the clear blue when it's unnecessary and when it's just someone's doing a positive thing. There's the ALS bucket challenge. Well, ALS actually isn't the most important disease. Let's bring up this.
Right.
That happens.
There's the
Yeah.
donating money to the Notre Dame. Actually, all this money could go somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's Bell Let's Talk. Well, it's just a corporation helping this out. They could have actually done this if they actually cared. So,
Doesn't make all of it untrue though, and it starts a
No, but-
conversation.
I guess, but when does the conversation end? When the conversation can be applied to anything?
Because you counter. Like when I read that article, I said, listen, like I think that like if the point is that like our fandom in sports and I don't think we're being defensive just because it's a Raptors thing. If you think it's pointless that communities come together and get behind something like a Raptors run, or you want this free agent millionaire Kawhi Leonard to stay in your city even though he's not from here, and people want to talk about the silliness of rooting for laundry and how frivolous sports and entertainment is anyway. Like why are all these restaurants in the city getting behind this? And it's a frivolous sort of undertaking. My counter to that would be like, actually, I think there's real value in sort of like civilized society and like building these things. Like I think like having these nice things and having these constructs is a sign of a healthy society. Yes, it's not perfect and there's people that are going to get fucked and we could find money and give it to all those things that that article had pointed out. But to your point, Shane, I actually agree with you. I think that like that article, it's like pick your spots. It does feel like the person at the party that is always going to be like, well, guys, should we really have a good time? Like, I don't know if we should have a good time.
Yeah, when we talk about how do we make progress, I always feel like as someone who really identifies with a lot of like progressives and like this need to keep pushing forward, the one thing I disagree with is when they sometimes choose to go and then because you go no, you're actually creating more people that are annoyed or pissed off with you, and that is actually going to
It's hurting their
it's going to be
cause.
a
Big
backlash.
time.
So just only for the sake of being like a pragmatic political person, you go, okay, this Kawhi 9 thing is kind of stupid, and there's actually probably a better way we can do it, but I'm not going to throw a wet blanket on this at the moment because it's bringing the whole city together. Everybody's not looking at their phone. Everybody's in these public squares. Like, isn't this what like life in community is all about? Is like sharing each other's good company, and that's
Yeah,
what and
that's a
like
good point.
with people from every different background hanging out in public parks, like that doesn't happen anytime
high-five a
ever.
stranger.
And now
Yeah.
it's happening
Yeah, yeah.
all around this country. The people sitting next to at the game, it was like an Eastern European guy and an Indian guy, best friends hugging each other. I was like, I just don't see that. We talk about wanting to, live in a multicultural society, but really we are totally segregated from each other. But the Raptors are actually bringing this together. So anyway, when it comes to this Kawhi and Dine criticism, I'd say, okay, let's focus on what's actually good, because there's so much good shit happening right now. And next time, and there's a million other opportunities to point out criticisms on things that we could do better.
And people's obsession with sports ain't changing anytime soon.
And
It's a
just
reality.
and just because you can put a little thing that says Quine and Dine in your restaurant window doesn't mean you have the means or know how to start a charity and do that. So it's a lot easier to do the other thing. And it's not mutually exclusive. You can also do that even if you are putting it in your window.
You could be doing all those other things as well.
So here's what I found odd about Lauren's thing, was that when I told her that I didn't agree with it, she agreed with me. She said, I also think Quine and Dine is a good thing. I just like reading things from different perspectives.
Sure.
Well, that's what I like. When I read that article, did any of you guys my immediate thought was just, who wrote this article? I don't think the problem was Lauren tweeting it at us at all. I think it was the article itself. And I just immediately was like, this was not a Raptors fan. This was someone who's
And this is the
watching all
problem
of
with
this
the internet
Raptors buzz from the outside.
The problem is that everybody has a platform. It's also one of the good
Exactly.
things about the internet, but also that it's sort of, you could say, polluting the waters a little bit.
And
And it was like a slow news day, and people were looking for something to get shared on Facebook.
Well, this
and a
was
lot
the
of,
first time I heard that critique anywhere. Have you guys heard it anywhere else?
No.
I haven't.
I have heard it a few times.
I
Actually.
haven't heard it being compared
Yeah.
to this extreme, and I don't even know what website published it or anything like that. But I was just sort of like, this is just one of those things that.
But for Lauren to be like, every perspective needs to be shared, it was like if there was some debate on women's rights, and I was like, had an article about how women should stay in the kitchen, and I was like, check this out, ladies. And they were like, actually, Shane, you're an asshole. That's a stupid article. And I was like, no, I agree with women's rights. Just an article about women staying in the kitchen that I thought you should read, a different perspective. If you are sharing an article, there would be a thought that you're kind of in support of it. And we can't just
course.
read these endless
I
articles
don't
just about any
necessarily
different
think
perspective.
that. I think you could share an article with your friends and be like, "This is really interesting. I've never thought about it this way." And,
Right, sure.
and
That's a great way to share
and this
something, though.
opinion exists. Like, what do you guys think? And then let's have a discussion. I think the second you cut off
course.
those conversations about other people's opinions.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
suggesting that, but I am saying if I did have an article about how women should stay in the kitchen, I would say, I do not agree with this article. I'm just sending it to you. You front porch that at all times.
Right.
Her to do that, me to make a point on how Quine and Dine is actually a good thing, and then her to be like, oh, I know. I'm just...
Oh, sure. I mean, I think the context, because we all know pod listener Lauren as somebody who's very socially engaged. That's probably why, and we don't know her that well at all, but that's probably why we assumed that she was in support of
She
it.
could also been presenting it for something for us to talk about in the pod.
Yeah.
Like exactly as
But
we're doing.
that's what I'm saying. Front porch that kind of
Sure.
article.
Yeah.
And then when I responded to her, she was kind of rude to me and said, oh, I'll just send it to Max from now on. Like, not realizing...
He does pick the topics.
Well, Max rolls his eyes just as much as I do. It's just he has more of a public relations.
No, I mean,
way
I'd
of
say the difference is, I think, in my disposition, and I'm like this generally speaking, is that like you are far more inclined to get into a Twitter spat with somebody,
Of course.
and double down on your position, and I'm more generally inclined to go, okay, I see what you're saying. Here's another thing. Let's work this out together.
In
Even-
public, you are. In private, you'll be like, I fucking...
No, that's not true.
I don't think that's
No, that's
true.
not true. Like I'm in the middle of every debate in the band van between Nick and Mike, and I'm always the bridge between the two of them. And like so I think it's just my personality. And you're similar.
I know, but that's I'm saying publicly
Sure.
in a conversation, you're more likely to be civil, but behind closed doors, you'll be like, I'm so fucking annoyed with this. Or
Well,
something.
no, I can get frustrated with things, but I'm also I'm
I'm just
better.
saying, if I was you and in your position,
Yeah.
I would do the exact same
Sure.
thing you do.
Yeah.
But I think in Max's defense, I think like so this specific article about Kawhi, you read that and your first instinct might be like, this article is dumb. That's what I would think. But then I would go, so what's the point here? Are they being a contrarian just to be a contrarian? Are they actually like, do they think that these are actually helpful suggestions? Are they missing the point of why people are into this Raptors run? Like, it would make me think, why did this person write this? And then I would go, are they so far in the minority that it doesn't matter? And then you have that conversation, you sort of debate it. I would like, my first instinct would be like, this article, I think that this is this ain't it would be my first thing, and then I go, so why are they doing this? Maybe this person really genuinely is like, we need to have a real cause, and it pisses me off that people are so mad about sports. I'm like, okay, then your issue's with sports. It's not with Kawhi. Your issue's with the frivolous sort of like spending we do on things that I guess are non-essential.
Capitalism, bro.
So that's their fucking issue. So then I'm like, let's have a conversation about that. You're just cloaking it in this Quine and Dine shit. That's the conversation that I would want to
Yeah.
have, and I think Max tends to lean the same way. But I think we can all like on our first blush go, this article is ridiculous.
And that what you just described, like how that critique of it is the exact same lens that like people were critiquing the Notre Dame thing.
Yeah.
Just like on a different, like,
Yeah.
right?
Also, the internet just like I think people. There has to be a counter. It's a push and a pull, always.
Always.
And what we never know is because the internet gives like it's an amplifier. That article might literally have 300 clicks. Literally, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But it's now being talked about on a podcast because someone put it out in the universe.
It's
And
interesting, and I'm not mad at it. And I didn't like. Was I being unruly or anything? On
No, you know what? It was funny. Just because when you said virtue signaler, I when I hosted the Gist last year, you got you to write out this essay that you read on the air, and I don't even remember what the topic was, but I used the term virtue signaler, and Mike Pesca, who's the host, he emailed back. And he says, virtue signaling is a trigger for the left. Virtue signaling is what you're talking about, but maybe there's a better, more fun, or even more emotionally resonant way of saying this. So
it's become a very dismissive insult because the thing is
that's why I jumped in on it immediately.
well, this is the thing. It's like because what's the difference between someone that really does give a shit about a cause, say like Black Lives Matters, and someone who's virtue signaling? It's hard to tell the difference. So if I'm someone that wants to discredit you, the first thing I'll call you is virtue signaler in a construct, not me personally, but you know what I mean?
It's a cheap
Yeah.
way to do it.
So that word has become so almost like snowflake.
I think the difference is, and it's very nuanced, and that's why it's very hard to get into an argument with something, is when there's actually just cause to kind of shoehorn your opinion in because it's actually something that needs to be fought and something's doing something very wrong. Typical virtue signaling is when somebody's doing something good or someone's having a good time, and then you hop in and say, actually, you could be doing it a little bit better, guys.
Is that what
That's
it
the
is?
definition in my way that I bring it up. Is like if you started a charity, Max, it would be like, yeah, this is all well and good, but let's think about this. And then that is virtue signaling.
Or on a more like personal level, it could be like on my Instagram, all I ever do is post about like volunteering and doing this and doing or causes that I think people should support. But meanwhile, I don't donate anything. I don't support any of these causes. But I just want people to think and associate me with said causes.
Yeah, that's very common. But to me, the worst kind is the rain on the parade kind, which that's the only time I'll actually say this is a true virtue signal. The other time it's just humble bragging.
Is that our laugh?
oh, please.
Yeah.
That's
No,
the
don't we have
weakest
another
laugh I've ever
topic?
heard in our life.
Oh, we're not going to talk about the other topic.
What's the last topic?
I thought we had another one about something else. Shit.
We
Okay.
had Raptors.
You know what? Just
Do you have the
for the
definition?
record,
Okay.
virtue signaling is the conspicuous expression of moral values. Academically, the phrase relates to signaling theory and describes a subset of social behaviors that can be used to signal virtue, especially piety among the religious. In recent years, the term has been more commonly used within groups to criticize those who are seen to value the expression of virtue over action.
You know, it'd be like, well, instead of writing this article, why weren't you spending the time to start a charity?
And
then
by
it
the
can
way,
never
Lauren
end.
is a
Where
school
does it end?
teacher, and she seems to participate in lots of righteous causes. So.
Well, and I accept it as her like throwing out the
and that
you
too.
want to talk about this. And then, a little confrontational web spat. That's just mixing it up a bit. Shane getting in the sandbox and throwing a little bit of sand.
But do we all like Lauren?
We love
Yeah.
Lauren.
I know. That was a
Yeah.
joke question. I was trying to end on a laugh. Sorry.
Mike on Much can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. You can subscribe to the show on any platform that has podcasts, Spotify. Do it.